Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started. It's the eCommerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your host, John Suder, Bart, Mroz, and Brittany Blackman. The eCommerce Minute is a production of SUMO Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm located in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's eCommerce Minute episode 714.
In today's episode, Gap plans move into non-apparel categories.
Apparel retailers are struggling with lockdown restrictions, and many of those that were already struggling have a tough road ahead. And of course, that includes Gap. The retailer has long struggled to return to relevance, and now, for the first time, Gap is looking for growth outside of apparel with an entry into categories it had never before explored. The retailer has announced that it inked a deal with licensing firm IMG that will include expansion into home decor, furniture, and textiles. The deal includes Gap and two of the company's other brands, Banana Republic and Janie and Jack, which will see an expansion into as yet unnamed new categories. For those of you who may not know, IMG, or International Management Group, is a company specializing not only in licensing, but also in marketing and media. Founded in 1960 and owned since 2014 as a subsidiary of entertainment agency WME, it operates in around 30 countries across the globe. In addition to diving into the home category, the company plans to create baby equipment and baby care products, presumably under both the Baby Gap label and Janie and Jack, which Gap Incorporated acquired last March for $35 million. But an official timeline for the debut for the new product categories hasn't been revealed yet. Things haven't been looking too great for Gap during the pandemic. Shortly before announcing the deal with IMG, Gap Incorporated also announced the offer of new senior secured notes totaling nearly $2.3 billion. Following that news, the company suffered a ratings downgrade by both S&P and Moody's. In addition to foregoing rent payments and instituting mass layoffs, the company also cut executive pay, suspended stock repurchases, deferred and suspended dividends, and reduced annual capital expenditures by roughly $300 million, shifted inventory, and has drawn down its entire $500 million revolving credit facility. This move into new categories represents a major ongoing shift towards what the Gap calls omni-channel opportunity, diversifying the products carrying the company's branding to potentially profit from markets outside the apparel sector. What do we think? Too much, too little, too late? Or I don't know. I don't see how this is going to work.
They were already not selling the things that people had brand loyalty for.
I don't think that's going to work. So
Yeah, no. Okay, so we all agree. I think it's a brand problem.
Yeah, people were obsessed with the Gap hoodies, the Gap shirts and everything, and they came back and were trendy for a while, but now people aren't even buying that stuff. So they're already not loyal to the product that Gap had a hold on people with.
Yeah,
and now, they're introducing new stuff.
Yeah, with the same moniker on it. And that is the problem that a lot of brands suffer from, in that you try to create a brand identity and then something somewhere, a cultural flashpoint happens, and all of a sudden everybody has to have the thing. Well, people get tired of the thing, and the thing was Gap in the 90s and then again in the mid-2000s, as Brittany pointed out, with the Gap hoodies. I don't think the thing is going to be the thing anymore. I think consumers are a little too fickle, and I don't understand how slapping the Gap on a side table is going to make them different. And again, this company is too big. It's like steering a giant ship to suddenly say we're Gap plus all this other stuff. I'm not sure how it's going to work.
So you mean they're trying to fill a gap in their gap?
Yeah. I was waiting for that one.
Well, it's the only way I could see them coming out on top here is if their furniture is A, genuinely super good quality and on trend, and B, not the price of West Elm or CB2. If it's in the middle of luxury and regular priced and it's trendy, then I could see people being maybe I'll grab this. But
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to think of the name West Elm, and that is exactly what I was thinking. In that you'd love to go into a West Elm, but you're like, the prices
Yeah.
are just like a scotch too high. But if it had that West Elm kind of trendy thing, but guess who's already doing that? Target.
Ooh, tea.
Yeah.
So why would you go to the Gap? And also you
Tea.
have, I don't know, a lot of the Gap stores aren't really that big unless they're just going to clear out, literally like categories of clothing. I'm visually trying to think of the Gaps that I've passed by in the last 2 years because I don't even really shop there anymore. I used to buy a lot of Gap clothing, but it just, I don't know. I don't think the quality was there for the price point that they were at. And I'll just say it again, Target. Why would I, if I need a quick shirt for a meeting, I'm not going to go to Gap like I used to. I'm going to go to Target or I'm going to order off of Amazon. So, but again, pivoting to housewares. Now they're doing a licensing deal. So I guess their risk is generally low, meaning that IMG would foot the bill and say, here's the product, we're going to give you, X% off of each, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We don't even know what these things are. I'm just using side tables as an example. So maybe there's a low risk there. Maybe that's why they're doing it. But I think what they'll suffer from is if they're trying to crawl back to relevancy in the glory days of Gap in the 90s when it was a cool store to hang out, it risks becoming a Gap plus Spencer Gifts or something like that because we don't know what these products are and we don't know how much control IMG is going to have over the say of what goes in the actual stores. So it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't give it a thumbs down. I give it a sideways
Side thumb.
Side thumb.
Side thumb.
Gap is working on reopening up to 800 of its Gap, Old Navy, Athleta, Banana Republic, and Genie, Jack, and Intermix stores before the end of May. So the new stores will have new cleaning routines, sanitizer stations, no fitting rooms. That makes sense. Plexiglass guards at registers. And I think that is, I'll go off a little side thing here. We all understand social distancing, the flow of customers, less customers in the store, like all that stuff makes sense. And I actually feel a bit safer. Now, maybe it's theater. I don't know because I'm safe. I practice all the safe protocols and who knows what's going to happen. But I think these measures at least will bring a sense of reassurance to the customers that actually do venture out. I mean, except for the yahoos who are just walking through stores naked and with nothing and just being crazy. But yeah, I mean, things like the problem with this whole crisis is that you could do certain things, but it's like, yeah, I'm going to take a car ride, but you don't want to stop and use that public bathroom. It's like these little close confined spaces are what are going to really be a problem when things try to open up. I just point that out with the Gap story because, fitting rooms, like you can't go try on clothes because who the hell wants to go in a fitting room right now? So it's going to be a weird time for retail, but good that they're trying to reopen. And if they do it right and we get past the winter, maybe things won't be as bad. Do a little stat time. Due to mass layoffs, roughly 10% of Gap's workforce was laid off. Gap had net sales of $16.4 billion with a B in fiscal year 2019. And finally, only 20% of Gap's revenue comes from indoor shopping malls. That is very interesting, and I guess that speaks to the trend of not so much indoor shopping malls or indoor shopping malls being repurposed as outdoor shopping malls because the era of the indoor shopping mall is over with a capital.
Shopping malls are already doing bad as it was. I never even thought of that until you just said that. I was like, wait a second. Indoor malls are already crashing before this, and now people literally aren't allowed into them.
Simon reopened their malls. I skimmed over a few articles about it, and they're doing the whole social distancing, and they have social distance ambassadors and the signs and the thing. But people are people, so it's not going to be perfect. And if you ask me if I'm going to step inside a mall anytime soon, that answer would be a capital N-O.
Absolutely not.
N-O. All right. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
All right. That's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at SUMO Heavy.